Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas delivered a harsh rebuke to his critics on Friday, indicating that so-called reckless people in Washington bombed his reputation, saying, quote, "The nastiness and the lies, it's just incredible." Justice Thomas has been accused of failing to follow a rule of ethics while sitting on the bench and has faced widespread criticism for his wife's involvement in the effort to overturn the 2020 election. Andrew Weissman and Anthony Coley are back with us.
Andrew Weissman, I want to connect the dots on the story we were just talking about and this story and help me understand something that I assume that a lot of our viewers want to understand too, which is you can't just remove Thomas and you can't just remove Cannon, and yet there have been these effective efforts to remove Fani Willis in Georgia. How is that possible?
Yeah, so that is I think that is a huge question that lots of people who are not lawyers, and frankly, even I have. I mean, because there is a real inconsistency. So first, let's just take Judge Cannon. A lot of people who are not lawyers are thinking, can't you be removed from either seeming to be too partisan or just not being competent enough to handle this case? And the answer to that is, unfortunately, no. Just being incompetent is not enough. Just having sort of a delayed schedule is not enough. And if you think about sort of what you'd want the law to be, you don't want just because one side or the other is disappointed in a ruling, you can't just say, oh, I want a new judge. So the law is very, very difficult to meet that standard. And so I just don't think there's enough to remove her. The problem with the Supreme Court is that until they recently passed a sort of toothless ethics code internally by the Supreme Court themselves, where there's no, by the way, if you violate that, there's no obvious ramification. There is no mechanism to remove a justice or to even just recuse them from a case. They have to decide it on their own. The reason Justice Thomas is in, I think, such hot water is the idea that he's sitting on an immunity case where his wife was at the Ellipse on January 6th at that speech and was communicating with the chief of staff about the Biden crime family. How that doesn't create an appearance of impropriety, which is one of the standards for not sitting on a case, is beyond me. And so, many people can look at that and say, you are the last person who should start talking about, unjust, public, publicity, because he's really, I think, caused the Supreme Court to, really not be held in sort of with the respect that it should. And I agree completely with Anthony with respect to Fani Willis, which is, it is just beyond me how the law would support this. Whether you are having a tryst with somebody in your own office is just not a ground for removal. And there's just such a disparity when you think about that, and then you think about what Judge Cannon did, where you think that's more
Thomas.
Exactly. So there is just very different standards going on, and it's a great question.
I think this is why this piece in the New York Times, the interview, Vice President Harris did an interview with Lisa Lear in the New York Times. I know the Times has said that the president and vice president don't do interviews, but here's one. And where she said that the headline is, VP Kamala Harris warns of Supreme Court's future rulings. I worry about fundamental freedoms. She prefaces this line with, I don't want to use my voice in a way that is alarmist, but this court has shown itself to be an activist court, said Ms. Harris. This court has made it very clear that they are willing to undo recognized rights. Anthony, later in the piece, she goes on, because, Lisa Lear presses her, and she goes on to say, look at what Justice Thomas has said. You don't look at what he has said and what he wrote in a concurring opinion in the Dobbs decision, and that will tell you where he's going. And what he wrote was about that the court should reconsider, take another look at these guaranteed rights like same-sex intercourse, same-sex marriage, and even contraception.
That's exactly right. You talk about using your voice. I'm so glad that Vice President Harris is using her voice to call attention to this issue. Simone, she rightly noted that because of Donald Trump, 1 in 3 women of reproductive age live in states without access to an abortion. 1 in 3. The other thing that she said here that's important to note is that this is not hyperbole when she's sounding the alarm about what could come down the road. We know just from yesterday, Samuel Alito gave a speech, a commencement address, where he said, and I quote, that Supreme Court precedents, quote, they're not written in stone, he said. right? And you noted that Clarence Thomas has openly said that the court should reconsider its opinions on contraception and same-sex marriage. This is not a drill, and I don't know what more we all need as a country to wake up, because while we still have rights, because at some point if this court goes down the current path, some of the rights that we hold dear, voting rights, other reproductive rights, other freedoms that we cherish, they're going to be in danger.
Still never understood why the courts feel they need to have an opinion on contraception in the first place, but you know.
You know, they want to be all up in your business. In November, you can make a decision about if you think that's okay, folks.